LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I
filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Beneful. Dogs of the world, lend me your ears, snoots, and little toe beans. We've been sitting and staying for boring food for too long. It's time to demand high-quality ingredients, fresh from the pantry. Together with Beneful freshly prepared meals, we can start a mealtime revolution. Can I get a woof woof? Kick boring in the bowl with Beneful freshly prepared meals. Visit Purina.com/Beneful to shop now.
Hey there, Mama Work It Tribe. I'm Marissa Lonick, working mom of 4, lover of all things flow, family, and fulfillment. You're tuning in to the Mama Work It podcast, where we take aim at overwhelm, mom guilt, and exhaustion and swap them out for big dreams, belly laughs, and productivity that actually fits into your life. Every week, we dive into tips, motivation, and a healthy dose of fun so you can slay your day even when you're busy AF. Ready to feel seen, energized, and totally unstoppable? Let's get to work, mama. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So glad you're here. As always, my name is Marissa Lonick. I am your host and the founder of Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. Excited to bring back a guest again on our show. He's been on the show before, so be sure to check out his OG episode. We will link it in today's show notes. His name is Paul Fenner. He brings over 22 years of experience in wealth planning, portfolio management, and tax strategy. And he's also, get this, a busy dad of 4, including a set of triplets. So he truly understands the real life balancing act of family, career, and financial pressure. As the host of the Emotional Balance Sheet podcast, Paul helps parents navigate big life transitions, redefine their relationship with money, and figure out what enough really looks like. I can't wait for this conversation. Paul, thanks for coming back.
Well, thanks for having me back. It's always great to be on and connected with all the moms out there for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you and you've been on the show, but for those who maybe don't know you or haven't heard your OG episode, can you share a little bit more about your background? What led you to found TAMMA Capital, which is your company?
Yeah. So TAMMA is easy for me to talk about and explain because when you take the first letter of my wife's first name and my 4 kids, that's how you actually get TAMMA. So there's Teresa, Aiden, Madison, Mackenzie, and Andrew. And full disclosure, I didn't come up with that name. My career mentor, Camille Jane, did. So I always give her like credit for creating that name. But I primarily work with families, probably in similar life stages to most of the moms and listeners that are part of your audience, where there's no shortage of financial and personal priorities pulling at us, especially parents. And so it's trying to cut through some of that noise and put together not only financial plans, but the lifestyle plans that go along with that to help people define their purpose, their objectives, and what action items they need to take in order to achieve those objectives, which then help support purpose. And that's been something that I've been on real strong for the last 3 or 4 years, as I've gone through this big life transition myself with TAMMA, my firm, and getting people to really understand and realize that there's about 20% financial of what I do, but 80% is more on the emotional side and planning side when it comes to being a financial planner or wealth advisor, at least from the family office that I've run, where wealth planning, portfolio management, and tax prep is all under one umbrella, which is what I call a family office.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about this concept of generational wealth today. I feel like this term gets thrown around quite a bit. It's kind of this buzzword we hear a lot of. So tell me, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, I was thinking about this when you posed the question, and I kind of came up with two thoughts on it. The first is, and I'll just give you kind of a bit more on my background. Like I came from a working class family. We were like low to maybe middle income, if you will. Both my parents, I grew up in Michigan, and auto industry is really big here, and so both my parents worked in some auto related factory roles. So I grew up in an atmosphere where we had enough, but you also knew that there was people that had more, and there's probably people that had less. And when I look back at my childhood and growing up, and looking at the things that we did, and I look at the things that I do now with Teresa and my four kids, I have to like just a lot of times take a step back and realize how fortunate and lucky we are. Not that Teresa and I haven't worked hard to provide for ourselves and our kids, but there's things that I've done that I would have never thought about growing up in little Adrian, Michigan, almost 40 some years ago. I'll be 50 in like 3 more months. So, ask me about that milestone when it gets closer. But, I look at it, and I look at, where my parents came from, how they raised us, and then how we are today, and the things that we get to do because of the financial means that we have, and some of the financial security that we have today that I didn't have growing up. And so I think that's one way to kind of get your arms around generational wealth. And I think the other thing I was thinking about too, and I've been talking about this for probably the last year, because I've really seen this interesting shift in the way that TAMMA has developed as a true family office, where for the most part, the people that I work with are people in our life stage where we have, multiple kids, 40s, early 50s. But then there's these, if you drew a bell curve, the one hand of the bell curve are the sons and daughters of parents I've been working with for years, and they're starting their careers, and they're starting their families now. And then on the other side are the parents of, say, our parents, and helping them. And so it's really interesting that this family office has become fully like generational, where I'm working with, every, all 3 generations, if you will. And I just never thought about that being in the cards when I started TAMMA 15 years ago, literally the day my triplets were born. So,
Yeah. Do you have a favorite generation you like working with?
I would say ours, because we have the most, I don't want to say problems, but I think opportunities and challenges. I think that the landscape as a parent has totally changed. Like looking back to how like we grew up, versus how my kids are growing up now with cell phones and social media. And it's so hard to manage. And like looking back, I'm like, I'm actually, maybe I'm showing my age now as I'm getting closer to 50. Is like, I could imagine having Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok at their ages. Like I know what I was like back when they're their age.
Right?
And I wouldn't have wanted any part of that. Like I would have been a complete disaster. My parents would have like completely lost control of me. And I think that's where like this whole, I try to use the word harmony as much as possible, because I don't think there's balance, because most of the families I'm working with are dual income or dual career families, where both spouses or partners are working. And so you have the career pressure, but then you also have the home life pressure on top of it. And I think this is where I really relate to, being a parent, both sides of the of the parent aisle, both from a dad perspective and a mom perspective, because having 4 kids like you do as well, like there's no there was no like, oh, it's just Teresa changing the diapers or Teresa doing this or Teresa doing that. It's a team, full team effort, because there's so much to do. And I think, from that lifestyle standpoint, like how do I as an advisor bring together the financial component of a family's life? Because I think a lot of times people think that they're completely separate entities, and they're really not. Your emotions drive financial decisions, and financial decisions drive your emotions.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So true. It's so true. And I want to go back to something you said about sort of how different the way the opportunities and just the things that you're able to do with your kids versus when you were growing up, and sort of how I think every parent wants that, right? They want better for the next generation. So when I think
Yeah.
of generational wealth, like I'm trying to think of it from that lens too, is like all of us really want this in some way, shape, or form, because we want even better than we had for our kids, right? And so what do you think are, if someone's listening and obviously, nodding their head, agreeing with this, like, what do you think are the building blocks of this generational wealth, of making it happen for just the everyday dual working parent household?
Yeah, I think it starts with having conversations with your kids about money. And there's really no like age that's like I guess a requirement. Like you can start talking to your kids about money as young as like 5, 6, 7 years old, I think. I know, I kind of have the benefit of being an advisor and having those conversations with people, or people with my own kids. I think sometimes Teresa wonders why she married a financial advisor. But I think I know one of my daughters really appreciates it. She talks about, I think she knows more about retirement planning than a lot of the American adult population. But I think like having conversations around money, I know when my kids were young, we'd have like a whole system, like a chore system where, you know, they were compensated based on, what they got, done for chores each week. I never paid for grades, full disclosure. The grandparents pay for grades, but I do not. Um, but I think, having them understand that there's, you know, opportunity cost. And obviously I'm not trying to explain opportunity cost to a 7-year-old, but that there's trade-offs. You can have, if you want this, that means you can't have that. And striking that as early as possible, I think is really important these days, because as soon as these kids get on social media, or even before that, they're automatically launched into the comparison game, and they're seeing who has what, and who doesn't have those types of things. And those are the kinds of conversations that I'm having with my teenagers today. And all 4 of them are now teenagers. My triplets are 15, and Mackenzie, my plus one, is 13. Is realizing what you have and what others don't. And we don't get to it every year, but we try as a family to take time and volunteer at like Forgotten Harvest or one of our local food banks or something like that, so that the kids understand how, yes, again, going back to what I said earlier, we work really hard, but there's also people out there that work really hard that don't have the opportunities that we had, and that we should be looking to always be helpful. And so, with that, I've set up, Roth IRAs for 6 and 7-year-olds. I've set up, 529s for newborns. And so having those conversations and letting the kids know about some of these accounts that we've set up for them, I think are really important, because what you're hoping to do is plant the seed of saving and investing. And not that they understand, what the stock market is, but they understand what Microsoft is because it makes Xbox, or they understand what Meta is because they use Instagram. And so getting them to kind of understand what these companies are, how they probably make money a little bit, or investing in them specifically, I think can plant that seed that gets people or kids interested in saving and investing at an early age. And then once you get them hooked at that age, then that, to your point, generationally can start really compounding, because there's no time like today to start investing because of the capitalist system that we live in today in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think kids, I mean, at least in our household, like they are genuinely interested in it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, whether they're tying that to material things that money can buy, or just, the fascination of how it can amplify or compound or all those things, like there is a general, like a healthy curiosity here. So, even if you're noticing that, obviously address it, right? But even if you're not, like you said, introduce it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think a good way, like when birthdays and holidays come around, I think that's typically the easiest, because like, especially as kids get older, grandparents, aunts and uncles, when you're having these birthdays or these holidays, they don't know what to get. And so, getting cash and being able to say, you know what, grandma just gave you $50. Let's take 25 of that and put it into your 529 account for college. And then take that other 25 and go spend it on whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is one of my sons, Andrew, has become fascinated with like Pokemon cards. And like he's giving me like, it's like the stock market with him. Like he's giving me like weekly updates on the value of his collection. And so it doesn't have to be like investing. It can be trading cards or Pokemon cards in this case that get these kids interested in understanding, how things go up and how things go down. And that's something I'm always talking to Andrew about is, this Pokemon collection of yours is very similar to the stock market. It goes up, it goes down. And you're trying to not let your emotions take over when you see something go up a lot and when you see something go down a lot. And that's something that for a 15-year-old with a not fully formed brain yet can take some work and lots of conversations. And some of those are good, and some of those are a tad agitating.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Yeah. How do you manage? Because we have this issue in our house sometimes. Like, I don't know if you've experienced this. I have found oftentimes kids can be hoarders. Like they don't want to get rid of things.
Yes.
They really become attached. And so sometimes when the cash comes in for like birthdays or holidays, it's a hoarder status issue. Like it's like, no, I just want to keep it like in my wallet or in my closet or wherever. How do you manage that?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because at Christmas time, all four of my kids got a lot of cash, a lot more cash than normal. And my two boys, they were very reluctant to give it up. And again, as we were talking before we hit record button, my four kids could not be any more different from each other. But from a savings standpoint, my girls are like really into savings. And because they know they have like an end goal, like, Mac wants to get a new iPhone, so she's, saving for that. Or Madison, who's in swimming, needs a $500 tech suit. And so she knows how much that costs. She knows what she's got to get that. My boys, on the other hand, not so much. So I actually had to send Grandpa Fenner up to their boys' room to try to talk them into just, hey, give me back $100 from each of you, so you can put it in your college fund. And that was really helpful, because I think having my dad involved, like sometimes I'm just a dumb dad where like they won't listen to me about anything.
Oh, they listen to other adults oftentimes
Yes.
a lot more.
And and it's funny, I've had families that have come to me to start working as part of the TAMMA family office. And one of the things that they say in the first meeting or two is, when my kids are of age, you're going to be the one talking to them about these things in this wealth, financial planning world that you live in. Right. And I'm like, yeah, of course. And that's really interesting, because they intuitively know that. Like, I intuitively know it. Like, I think one of the interesting things, going back to your question about like what generation I like to work with the most, another reason why I like working with ours, or maybe a little bit older, is that their kids are to the point where they're picking colleges, or it's trying to decide like where they're going to go to college. And sometimes that's the first real financial experience that kids are getting involved with, and understanding the cost of the various colleges, what that means as far as like student loan debt, what it means as far as like what mom and dad are paying and what you're going to be on the hook for. This school you may want to go to ends up costing you, an extra $50,000 a year. Well, if you go to this other school, you may only owe like $5,000. You may only have $5,000 in student loan debt. And again, it kind of comes back to this trade-off and opportunity cost that I mentioned earlier. And I've only had one person cry in my office when it comes to college planning. She's the daughter of one of my best friends, and she really had her heart set on going to Michigan State, and that's where she's going. But she probably could have got a full ride to another school. And I think she thought that I was going to say, no, you have to. I don't want to use her name, but she thought that I was going to tell her that she had to go to the school because it was going to be free. And I said, no, we've got a plan to get you to wherever you want to go. It's just my job is to lay out these options, so you make sure that you understand, all the options and the parameters on the table. And we still talk about that. I actually saw her over the weekend. She was home from Michigan State, and we always have a chuckle about that one.
Yeah. Oh, I get that for sure. But she was like, the big bad financial planner is going to tell me not to go there.
And I've known her since she was probably, I don't know, 7-8 years old. So and she lives here in the same sub as we do. And those are the back to this whole generational thing. Those are the relationships that really mean a lot to me, because seeing how, like, I've been doing this long enough where I've almost seen a full cycle of kids starting kindergarten and now are graduating from high school and going to college.
Oh man. And you're turning 50. Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm doing great. Like, I'm living my best life ever.
No, you are. It's fun to see that come full circle, I think,
Yeah, it is. And it's one of the unexpected joys of having the family office and doing what I do, is seeing these families grow and develop, but these individuals kind of grow and develop as well. And I think sometimes it's much easier for me to have these conversations and see that growth in other kids. Like, I call them my TAMMA kids versus my own kids, because again, like, it's I think a little bit harder for me, because maybe they don't see or appreciate the time and effort I try to put into them versus the time and effort that I put into the families I work with.
Yeah. All right. So for families listening, and they're intrigued, they're interested, they want to create this generational wealth. What should they prioritize first? Should it be debt payoff? Should it be an emergency fund? Should it be investing? What do they do? Where do they start?
Yeah, I love this question because I have found that it's a combination of all of those things. And the reason why is a lot of people think it's either black or white. Like, okay, I'm either going to pay down debt or I'm going to, save. And I think that keeps a lot of people up at night. And everybody's different. If I was drawing this, I don't know if I ever did this for you and Anthony, but I like draw this circle with a pie and I cut it up into slices where you have like, paying back debt, saving for retirement, saving for college, saving for a vacation. Like there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's no shortage of personal or financial priorities pulling at us. And I think the one thing that makes that people that have success when it comes to financial planning is striking that word harmony amongst all these pulling priorities at you. And for some people, like they can't stand that. Like it keeps them up at night. So in a situation like that, this is where you have to know yourself, and getting these things down on paper, I think, is really critical. But if you're somebody that is really risk adverse and wants to avoid debt, maybe you're putting more money into debt repayment than you are retirement or college planning. And that's okay, as long as you understand those trade-offs. Another example would be, you really want to make sure that you pay for, I don't know, half or full ride for your kids to go to college. So you're putting more money into college savings than you are retirement planning. Nothing wrong with that. Perfectly fine. Just know that if that's your route, then you may not be able to retire as early as you want. You may need to work an extra year or two, whatever it may be. And really where I'm getting at is, again, this whole idea of understanding trade-offs, because like I tell Teresa often, she hates this. Like, you can do most things in life, but you can't do everything. And I think people, when it comes to financial planning, people that really struggle are those that are expecting to get everything that they want. And that's where, reality does not meet or does not meet their expectations. And so it's having these deep conversations and really trying to understand who people are and what they really want. And again, it goes back to defining, your purpose and your objectives. And then from there, we can create the action items, the how-tos, if you will, to be able to achieve those things. And so I hope that answers your question and directly, but because when I explain that, sometimes people feel like, no, just give me the answer. And it's like the answer.
It's a case by case basis,
yeah,
obviously, right? Like no two families you work with have the exact same outlook and goals and portfolio and all of that stuff. So I imagine it has to be really just, looked at case by case. But I want to go back to what you said, because I want to challenge you a little bit.
Bring it.
All right. Yeah. And I'm sure Teresa has challenged you on this as well. I am going to disagree respectfully. I think you can have everything, but maybe not all at the same time. I think if you can prioritize effectively, if you can think about the long game here, if you can make the appropriate changes you need to make it happen, I think it is totally possible. Like, I'm not here to kill dreams.
Yeah. No, I think I would with that. So here's where you went. You went from what's the time frame?
Yes.
And you took a long time frame.
Expand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over the long-term time frame or time horizon. Yeah. I'm with you too. Like when people come in, like I want them to give me all of their hopes and dreams and fears, because when I know that, then we can like zoom back out and figure out how we put this in the right context of time. A lot of people, probably where I was going or coming from, was looking at more like short term. Like
right now. Yeah. You can't
right
go
now,
buy
like
those $600 shoes and also
right.
save the amount you want to save for the 529 plans and the retirement. But if you want those shoes when you get your bonus at the end of the year, go for it, right? Or if you
Yeah.
want to be able to take that vacation, you know, maybe it won't happen this year, but it'll happen in 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, with that I completely agree. And it when you said that, it made me think of two situations. One, you just mentioned bonus, and then the other is now that we're like entering tax season here. You know, some people plan on getting big returns. So whether you're planning on getting a big tax refund or a bonus whenever it may pay out, is having a plan for what to do with that rather than just letting it, not blowing it, but just letting it creep out of your checking or savings account, if you will. And so I always make sure that I try to have a plan with people on what they want to do with either of those types of, I'll call them windfalls, if you will. And probably 99% of the time, part of that includes going and just blowing it on something fun, like something that you would typically not do. Because
you gotta
the
have
one thing
some
that
fun. You gotta have some fun.
the one thing that I hate is the term budgeting, because no one, when they hear that, it's such a negative connotation. Like
it sounds so restrictive. It's like a diet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that getting towards your end objectives by being restrictive is not how you're going to get it. So get it done. Like, so I try to use the word spending plan. And I learned this the hard way with Teresa. She's going to love listening to this episode. Is years ago, like it would drive me nuts, like how much she would spend at Starbucks every year. And I would know because I would track it.
Because you're a financial planner and you're looking at the financial records.
And I was like, oh my God, how can we spend like a couple $1,000s at Starbucks every year? Like, how does this even happen? But what I learned is that that's how she starts her day. And if that's the thing that gets her going, starts her day so that she can do her job that she makes, you know, a great living at, then that's just part of the game plan, if you will. And it took me years, admittedly, to be able to let go of that. And to, when I see the Starbucks bill, I'm like, okay, this is just part of our spending plan.
Turn a blind eye to that, Paul.
Yeah, it's not that I'm turning a blind eye. It's understanding that that's part of our spending plan. And if we were to try to restrict that, then it would make life, you know, more challenging than it needs to be. Now we have the means to be able to spend a couple $1,000s at Starbucks every year. But it's, you know, from that spending standpoint, what I've learned and researched over the years is that it's not the Starbucks that doesn't get you to the end goal. It's the bigger financial decisions that you're making, meaning where you live, the types of cars you drive, the big ticket items. It's not the little things that eat away at you. It's the bigger cost items that people, you do once, you know, twice in your life sometimes, like buying a house. You know, you're probably buying a car a little bit more frequently, but you know, those decisions, because they're fixed cost, have a much bigger impact on your spending plan and your ability to save towards, you know, whatever the objectives are that you want, whether it's college, retirement, vacations, whatnot.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference between being restrictive and being disciplined.
Yes.
You know, like you don't have to go full force restriction where like you just cut everything out, right? But you can be disciplined in other ways where, okay, this is important to me, but this isn't as important. So I'll choose this versus this or something like that. You know?
Yeah. I feel like a broken record. I think I've said opportunity cost like half a dozen times. But what you just said, Marissa, is just that. It's opportunity cost. Knowing that, like, going back to your example, like, I can't buy the $600 pair of shoes today because we're saving for the big, trip next year. But I'll be able to get those shoes the year after. It's and
for the record, I don't even think I own a pair of $600 shoes. Just an example that popped in my head. But anyway.
I don't know if Teresa does or not. I sure hope not. But if she does, I don't know about it, which is probably a good thing.
Might be for the best. Okay. Give us like one small move someone listening to this episode could start this month to start building generational wealth for their family.
I would say here's what people get, I think, tied up in knots about is that when they feel like they're behind in savings,
mm-hmm.
they know that they're behind. So like, well, why even bother? Like I know I'm behind. I'm not going to do anything. And I think if you can flip the switch on that emotion, and I have, a good example is, I have families I work with that are really struggling to figure out what they're going to do for paying for college. And what I've convinced them to do is just to open up a 529 account and put $50 a month in it for each of their kids. And on top of that is to let the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, friends and family know that, hey, we have these 529 accounts. When birthdays and holidays come around, you can contribute to these as well. And grandparents of all, they really dig into that. Like that's like, okay, great. Like I know that I'm helping and I know where the money's going. So my point is that even though you're behind, no small or set small saving amount is, it's worth it. It's worth it because what you'll find out is that it feels good to be able to save that, and you start building that habit muscle, and then it kind of balloons and compounds after that. So, start small. I think of like, when I started rucking, like 2.5 years ago, I didn't strap on a backpack with 50 pounds in it. Like I started with 10, and then I built up to 20, and then the 30, and then the 40, and then eventually up to 50. And so saving is a lot like that. Like, don't try to do too much at once. Just bite the elephant one bite at a time. So that would be my recommendation is one, start some small savings goal, whether it's college, retirement, or vacation. And I think one more as a kind of a bonus is to have some way, and again, this is not budgeting, have some way to be able to track what you're spending, because eventually you're going to need a baseline that tells you where the money's going. And then from there, you have the data to be able to make decisions and put options on the table to say, okay, if we want to save even more, where's the opportunity cost that we need to look at? Well, without having that baseline understanding of where the money's going, then you really don't. But I know that's a scary thing for a lot of people because, again, they know that they're behind, so they kind of just want to put their head in the sand. But part of my job is to get them back out of that.
Yeah. Well, it's scary. It's even when we do like time tracking exercises, when I do this with clients, it's like the more honest you get, the better this is going to work for you. And people, don't want to admit that they're picking up their phone and scrolling social media for hours and hours a day, because it doesn't even feel like that much unless you track it, because it's like these little increments, right? But when you're picking up your phone 100 plus times and doing that, it adds up. So yeah. All right, Paul, this has been super helpful. Before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you some random fun personal questions. So our listeners.
Yeah, these are my favorite.
Okay, good. All right. What is one app you just cannot live without?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this, or I thought you would. And now I have to look at my phone. Okay. From a work standpoint, it's probably current client, which is my phone system.
Okay.
But
all right.
but
We'll
from
go the practical route, but from another standpoint.
but from a fun standpoint, my daughters got me into Wordle a few years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's like probably like my fun app that I go to.
All right.
My longest streak was 47, and right now my current streak is
honestly,
15.
I don't play it, so I have no idea what that means, but it sounds amazing. Congratulations. What is your cocktail of choice?
Oh, any kind of bourbon. Specifically, like my go-to is like Woodford Double Oak. And I'm lucky. I live in a community where I live where I have like bourbon / whiskey connoisseurs, like experts. Like these guys are like hardcore. Like we live in Michigan. They go down to the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky multiple times a year. And it's awesome. But I think the great thing about like the cocktail is just the time spent with people, because a lot of, you're kind of talking about these stages of life again.
Mm-hmm.
I've become, I've said this before, like TAMMA is a place where friends become family and family becomes friends. And I have this really unique community of really great friends that are personal friends of mine, but also TAMMA families as well. And as their sons and daughters go to college and graduate, they're starting to move away. And I'm often reminding myself and others that when somebody picks up the phone to call for a gathering, it's easy to say no because we're all so consumed and busy. Mm-hmm. But the answer that we probably need to be saying more often is yes, because we're not going to get these opportunities that many more times. Like we're talking like years as being together as this community, if you will.
Oh my God, I got chills.
That was more than you asked for. Sorry.
You took it too far, Paul. All right, last question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh. I did not expect this one. Superpower. I get the first thing that comes to the top of my head is ability to read minds, but I don't think I want that. That would be like overwhelming.
That's scary.
that would be terrifying.
Not like controlling the stock market.
No, that would be like, yeah. I won't get off on. I won't start on that tangent. God, Marissa, you've really stumped me with this one. I don't really know.
Okay, it's okay. We won't make you suffer any longer. All right, Paul, before we actually do wrap up, tell everyone where they can find you, learn more about you, listen to your show.
Yeah, thank you. The best place to find me is on our website, which is TAMMACapital.com, and it's T as in Teresa, A as in Andrew, M as in Madison, M as in Mackenzie, and A as in Aiden. On our website, you can access our Emotional Balance Sheet podcast. I write, I do a weekly show. I usually write a weekly blog as well on all topics that kind of relate to parenting and this financial and lifestyle journey that we're all on together. So and I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm not on any other social media anymore. So.
All right. Well, thanks for being here again, Paul.
Yeah. Thanks, Marissa. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you feel empowered, inspired, and ready to take your next step. If this episode spoke to you, share it with another amazing mama, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps us show up wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to head over to mamaworkit.com for free resources, coaching support, and new ways to momage your days as a busy mom. Until next time, keep on working it, mama.
Greenlight helps kids learn about money by actually using it. It's a debit card and money app that teaches kids to earn, save, and spend in real life, not just swipe and hope for the best. Learning happens naturally, in the moment. Parents can set limits, see real-time spending, and guide better habits all in one place, without constant check-ins or cash runs. Don't wait. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/trygreenlight.